So here's what they're relying on. And I thought we could go into our breakouts here and talk about these things that are required. So collective intelligence, it requires our individual agency and that we're independent and autonomous. So we have our freedom, and it requires our diversity, that we're all different, unique, and it requires transparent sharing of what we know and what we do. And then the swarm creativity is these organisms like the bees, they work in teams. So they might have a team of 3 that does something very special. We're going to go look for these kind of flowers. Or the ants, a team will go and collect, forage. Whereas another team is working in the nursery, or another team is working repairing the nest. And so they have that specialization in teams, and it requires that they share everything, and they communicate. They have a language, an if-then kind of language. If I do this, you do that. It's almost like chess. So I thought we could go into a breakout and talk about these things and how these things are compromised in our work or in the systems that we're in. So let me see. Oh yeah. Okay, so you can see that these things, specifically sharing requires our commons, and it requires biocultural practices that protect that commons and develop it and maintain it for one another. And that requires a shared future and shared values. And those things are dependent on a shared place. And so I think this is coming around to something interesting about our anchoring to place. I want to go through this a little bit, and then we'll do our breakout, because I think this is going to go directly into our purpose statements. So here is what happens. Here's the things that superorganisms require to do their work. This collective agency, intelligence, and the swarm creativity. But what happens is these parasites come in, and it's typically a sister species, the closest relative of the colony, which is interesting. But it comes in, and the first thing it does is it wants the nutrients for itself. So it's actually trying to suppress the colony and yet use them, use their labor, use whatever they have. So the first thing it does is suppress the sharing. It suppresses the diversity. It suppresses the agency, and it suppresses mutual protection in the commons. And it just takes it for itself. That's a familiar pattern, I think, in our lives, in our own communities. And it replaces them with, imposition of those 3 paradigms we're talking about, right? Like imposing our beliefs or our standards or our efficiency on others. And it enforces conformity, and it uses deception. It facilitates competition, and it destroys the commons and the shared identity of the community, and ultimately destroys the community. What happens is the place degrades, and I think that's a very a pattern we can recognize. And so what I want to do is put you into the breakout groups now and think about how these things have impacted the systems that you're working in. Does that make sense? We need some clarity on that. Here, I'm gonna look at the chat.
Okay, I've opened the rooms.